Hello, everyone. This is Brandon, and I want to welcome you all here to the Tansson Talks show. I'm so excited to speak with you all here today. For those of you who don't know me, I am a lifelong learner, communicator, and of course, your friend, and I'm glad to be here. So, to go ahead and get started for today, I did want to go ahead and welcome my guest for today. Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Of course, and I'm glad to have you here. And so, first of all, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm a little bit tired. I watched the Super Bowl last night. But other than that, good day. Had all my classes, so now it's just work and talking to you.
Well, awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're able to squeeze some time in for me. And so, first of all, did you enjoy the Super Bowl yesterday?
I did, yes. I have to say, less invested in the football and much more invested in Rihanna. But it was great. She's always amazing. Yeah,
Well, I definitely know that we all have our priorities with the Super Bowl.
yeah. Were you rooting for anybody?
I was not necessarily, rooting for anyone in particular per se. So for me, I was working on the homework throughout like the almost the entirety of the Super Bowl, but I did record it, so I'm probably will actually go back and watch all the ads because I just really love seeing the different creative advertisements that come out every year. So definitely will do that. Probably will also check out the halftime show, but yeah, I don't know if there was any team I was really rooting for over another per se, but I had a podcast that went out that week that rooted for the Eagles, so maybe I'll root for them. Um, but yeah,
Not
did you
really.
have a particular team you were rooting for?
No, no, not really. But yeah, some of the ads were really great. Tubi, I don't know if you've seen, they like had this ad that made it look like someone, like changed the remote on your TV and switched to their app, like freaked everybody out. And T-Mobile had a really good one. Um, Pop Chips had a really good one. So definitely check those out. I think that's always so fun. Like as comms people, we get to watch the Super Bowl kind of in a different way from everybody else, and analyze all the ads.
Definitely. And I'm sure for someone who's watching who's not a Cone person, I'm sure that they would be like, "Oh man, it's like we're making the Super Bowl less less fun." I'm sure, but I mean, I nevertheless am so excited about all of that. And I did hear about the Tubi one this morning, so yeah, that was such a cool sort of display that they did for that, from what I read. And so hopefully I can find a clip of it somewhere. But nevertheless, as we're getting started, are you able to go ahead and introduce yourself for the watching or listening audience today?
Sure. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Lauren Garelick. I am a senior at the University of Florida. I'm studying public relations with an outside concentration in Spanish. Also at UF, I am the managing director for Alpha Productions, which is our student run public relations firm.
Well, that is really great to hear. And first of all, thank you for I said for willing to be here and for speaking with us. And I really can't wait to get started with this conversation.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So actually, I'm gonna start off by asking. So, what really brought you into the whole realm of public relations? Has this field always been something that really appealed for you?
Not exactly, but sort of. So in high school, I was always more of an English and history kid than a math and science kid. And so I thought I might want to be a journalist. Because we had this assignment in like my freshman English class, we had to write a restaurant review. And I really loved doing that, and my teacher loved it, and he was like, "You should go into journalism." So I was already thinking about it, and I was looking into collegiate journalism programs, and that's what I thought I wanted to do. So I did consider UF, and when I came to tour the journalism school here, the family friend who like took me around was a public relations major, and so she kind of brought that onto my radar and told me about it. And it was something I had literally never heard of before, but there were so many aspects of it that I liked. Teamwork and collaboration and creativity and an emphasis on writing. And I just thought that all of that was really cool. So that's what I ended up choosing.
That's pretty cool. And I like how you said that going into it. going into all of the tours that you also had a little bit of interest in journalism. And so, do you still also have that interest in journalism and the writing side of things?
I will tell you this: I had to take reporting as like part of my major. I learned so much. It was an amazing experience. I also never want to do it again. Like it was great experience, really really interesting. I thought it was so cool to learn that kind of writing, and I actually want to use aspects of it in my work. But the cycle of news is so stressful and it's so fast paced, and I just don't think I can do it.
I completely understand that. And while I haven't necessarily done a true, journalism class per se, I love the concept of journalism, but I could not do anything of that nature. Well, I probably could. I just would prefer not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so out of curiosity, for the journalistic writing course, what type of journaling did you all do?
So we had like in class assignments, where they would give you, a bunch of facts or a little brief, and you would have to turn it into a story. And then we would do outside stories, which is when you have to find something going on in the community, and pitch it to your TA and then write about it. So, I got published twice actually. I'm really excited to say. Both those stories I thought were very interesting. One was, about a sculpture in town, like near a county building that was torn down in 2017. It was a Confederate sculpture, actually. Um, and it had been about 4 years that had gone by where they hadn't replaced it yet. And so I did some digging looking into kind of the process of finding a new sculpture, why they hadn't replaced it, what was going on, the process of calling to artists and making those decisions about what should go there. So that was that article. The other one, um, I saw a post on Reddit, on like the school Reddit, with a petition, to have a hockey rink, like an ice rink, built in Gainesville. Which, if you don't know much about Gainesville, Florida, it's like 80 degrees here all the time, and the idea of an ice rink here is like a little bit absurd. But it turns out that the University of Florida has a club hockey team, and they would like an ice rink that is closer to home than Tampa, which is where the nearest one is. And we actually have had ice rinks here in the past for like winter holidays and stuff. So that was a super cool article to write, just to learn a little bit more of like the history of Gainesville and learn more about our hockey team. It was super fun.
That is really cool, and I actually did have a chance to read your second article, and you did a really good job with that.
Oh, thank you. That was a great, I think, out of all the interviews I did for that class, that was my favorite interview, was talking to, the two like kind of leads of the petition and the project, from the hockey team, because people who are into hockey just love talking about it. And as a reporter, that's like the best thing you can get, is talking to people who are really passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah, it really sounds like, yeah, that you were able to learn a lot from the experience and truly take away a lot. And so, out of curiosity, since, yeah, I guess diving a little bit more into this, though, when you entered into the class, did you know that you would actually have the opportunity to, like, be published like that?
Yeah, yeah. Or I guess maybe I didn't know so early, but the first day of class, they go through the syllabus and it's like, okay, you can get published. And at the beginning, I honestly thought that was sort of like absurd. I was like, what kind of like, oh, that would never happen. Like, that you have to be so, it seems so prestigious and so just like completely unattainable. But it happened and it was really cool. And I'm so grateful for the experience. So,
Yeah, that is just honestly so cool, because I know when when I was, I guess, reading through your LinkedIn page, so I was like, oh my gosh, it's like you were published. That is kind of, you know, that's kind of cool. So I'm at least glad that you were able to get that experience, even if that's not the route that you presently want to go through.
yeah, even though it isn't what I have chosen to do, I think it has definitely like guided me into what I'm doing now, and I think a lot of what I've learned from reporting like has stuck with me in the way, particularly in the way that I write. So,
Well, definitely a lot of professionalism there. And so I guess continuing on though with your public relations journey. So when you first got to your university at the University of Florida, so how was your experience and how long did it really take for you to really get adjusted to everything and I guess really sink into your major?
Yeah, so I guess it was traditional and non traditional at the same time. My freshman year was pre COVID, or most of it was anyway. I started in 2019 and then in 2020 we all got sent home. But all the courses I took as a freshman, I didn't take a single course related to my major. Because I came in to UF with basically no AP credits, so almost no college credit. I went to a private high school and they just didn't offer those classes. So when I came here, it was all general education and the basics. And to be honest, it felt a little bit like I was still in high school. I think at the time it like bored me and I was like, oh, I really want to get to, my major and like really understand it. And now that I'm a senior, I'm like, man, I really would like to take some more, fun classes, which is what I'm trying to do now. So it was very slow going at the beginning. I don't think I even learned what public relations actually was until my sophomore year, at which point we were online. So it was a very strange process getting into that. And then, I felt like I was behind because of my freshman year. I took like an introductory class, and the professor was so amazing. She really kind of motivated me to get into the meat of it and really like start exploring my professional options and learning more about my major. And so I was trying to do all that in an environment with really like a lack of connection, because everything was Zoom and everything was online. It was really hard to meet people doing the same things that I was. So that was a very interesting experience. It was very difficult to, you're trying to be as involved as you can be, and everything feels so disconnected.
I love the way that you put that. And yeah, I mean, like for you getting adjusted to that environment, like how was it initially?
It was difficult. I mean, I was very, very motivated and very eager, and I think I didn't really understand how to get involved. Like I was trying my best, but it didn't quite like work for me. And I knew I wanted to be in leadership as well. I remember the end of my sophomore year, I applied for a position with PRSSA, which, as we both know, is the Public Relations Student Society of America. So I applied for a position with our chapter, and I didn't get it, and I was sort of confused as to why. I was like, oh, I have all the credentials. I've been going to all the meetings. I worked so hard. And one of the girls on the board so graciously reached out to me, and she said, like, that's all great, but like, no one knows who you are. And I was like, well, how can they know who I am? Like, we're in COVID, whatever. But what I didn't understand is like, you can reach out to people, connect with them, even if it is virtually, even if it is just over LinkedIn or whatever it may be. And I hadn't made those connections, and it was a really important lesson for me to learn. That you could be as qualified as you need to be, but networking is so important. So that taught me a lot.
That's such an interesting, lesson though. Well, but first of all, I'm glad that, that they even let you know, sort of how you could improve about that and not just be stuck wondering, like, how come I didn't get the position? Am I not qualified? Did you all just not want me? So I'm glad at least you were able to get that clarification. But, but yeah, I mean, that is so true. And so for me, I've actually been a virtual student like my entire, well, most of my undergraduate career. So I sort of had one semester that was like when everything shut down in in college, but that was at a different college, so I sort of don't really count that. But nevertheless though, I mean, yeah. So like for me, when I try to get involved in everything, it's like it's sort of sometimes difficult to explain like, yeah, I know I'm a virtual student, I'm not on the campus, but like I still would love to get involved. Like how do I get involved? How do I make my presence known? So it's interesting to hear. that you were sort of trying to figure that out yourself, and yeah, and that you were able to get some pointers for it too.
Yeah, that was actually, and I thought that was honestly at the time I was like a little embarrassed, but the more I look back on it, the more I'm like, that was such a nice thing for them to do for me to notice in the first place that I really was trying to be involved and that I was eager to be involved. But then more than that, like to reach out to me and to give me that mentorship that I really needed. That was just so valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And so, even though you didn't get, yeah, even though you weren't able to become officer within, yeah, that year for PRSSA, yeah, what are some of the other ways I guess you tried to get involved after that, like within your campus?
It's really, and I like to tell people this, like it's you bounce back and you're not going to get every opportunity, but if you try enough things, something will eventually stick. And everything builds on each other. And so, like, I didn't get that position, but I did get promoted within Alpha Productions the following year. And so I became a supervisor. I also had an opportunity through one of my classes to participate in the Page case study competition. A couple friends and I took a project that we did for class and kind of revamped it to submit to that competition with the help of one of our professors, and we won first place. So that was a really big, I think, building block for me, and it kind of helped me gain some recognition within the college and with my professors and faculty and all that kind of stuff. And things have just sort of grown from there. Yeah,
Oh, that's impressive. Well, first of all, congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so, but when you mentioned though that you were able to sort of, yeah, move up a little bit and yeah, the production firm, yeah, UF Alpha Productions. Are you first able to explain sort of what is that for anyone who's, yeah, who's wondering?
Sure. So we are, first of all, affiliated with PRSSA, the Public Relations Student Society. We are a student run public relations firm, so we do public relations work for real clients, some of them paid and some of them unpaid. Um, but anything from social media, graphic design, strategy. This year we're doing a lot of research, which I'm very excited about, so surveys and focus groups, um, all that kind of stuff, and we do it for real clients with real work, and it's an amazing portfolio builder. And yeah, and we're affiliated through PRSSA, so we are kind of connected to them in that way as an organization.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so, since you mentioned that you all are affiliated, do you all operate as two separate groups, or are you all one big group, or is there some overlap, or how does that work for you all?
There's some overlap, I would say. In terms of the way we work with the university, we are under PRSSA, so we don't register as a separate student organization. We like are a part of their student organization, but in terms of the way we function, we have our own management team and we have our own separate meetings, and we do work separately. However, if you want to be a member of Alpha Productions, you have to be a member of PRSSA. So in that aspect, we are very much connected, and a lot of our members, go to the PRSSA meetings, or they serve on the PRSSA executive board, or they serve on a committee in some way. So we are very much connected.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so, yeah, so for you all, so what are some of the clients that you all help serve? Like, if you're able to provide some examples.
Sure. So my favorite client to talk about, because I was the supervisor on their account, is Motomed's Healthline. They are actually a research study. So they're not an organization, they're not an NGO, they're not like a company or a business. They're literally doing research um, in Haiti and now also in Ghana and I believe a couple of other countries. But basically, the mission of Motomeds is to provide healthcare to children at night when they're the most vulnerable. So in countries like Haiti and Ghana, emergency rooms aren't open 24 hours. So if your child gets sick in the middle of the night, you may not be able to take them to the emergency room, and things can escalate and illnesses can become severe and you can have real problems. So, what MotoMeds does is they have clinics where parents can call and discuss what's going on with their child and get medical advice. And then, if they need medication or they need actual medical care from a nurse, MotoMeds will deliver those things to them by motorcycle. So, hence the name MotoMeds. And there you go. So we did work for them with fundraising, with social media, with email marketing. They need funds to continue the super important work that they're doing. And so we also have hosted informational sessions for them to, spread the message, discuss the work that they're doing with supporters and with the community. It's been really, really rewarding to support that kind of cause.
Well, first of all, thank you all so much for your work and helping to support these causes.
Yeah, absolutely. We, as a firm, try to make sure we have at least one pro bono client every year because it's really important to us.
Well, I'm glad that you all, take that all into account. And so, what are some of the services that you all provide to these clients, out of curiosity?
So, just working from what I've mentioned so far and what we're doing this year, it's a lot of research this year. So, surveys and focus groups, and then compiling reports out of those with key insights that our clients can use to their advantage. Sometimes we go beyond the research in further semesters and we create strategic plans and campaigns for clients. Um, we tend to do a lot of social media because we are young and clients expect that from us, as I'm sure that you know. So we do graphic design, sometimes we do video production, copywriting for the captions, scheduling and logistics for posting, all that kind of stuff, and analytics reports too to track how well we're doing. Um, Also, social strategy, we get a little bit into that area as well. What else are we working on? Event management, that's come back since COVID. So, booking vendors, setup and breakdown, and then promoting those events, right, with social and often with like email marketing services like MailChimp or Wix. We help with building websites. We do a lot.
Well, I'm glad that you all are able to get this experience you know, and do it through the student firm. I mean, that's just so cool that you all are able to, to do that. And so, out of curiosity, how many members are there within the student firm?
We have about 30 total. So we have, let me think, we have 4 clients, and then we have an in house team that does PR for us because even PR firms need their own PR. And then we have management.
That's pretty cool. And so, what is your role within all of this, and what are some of the things that you do within your role?
Sure. So I am the managing director, which is effectively the president, but we have a fancy little name that makes it sound like it's a agency, which I guess we kind of are. So I oversee everything really. It's a very interesting job. It's been a very cool transition to see what it's like because I've never done anything like this before. Um, a lot of it, like any supervisory role, is making sure other people do things. Um, so it's a lot of reminders, a lot of meetings, all that. I am also the main liaison to our faculty advisor who helps us occasionally when we're struggling with things. Um, I also do a lot of the work with contracting new business, invoicing, budgeting, all of that. And then if there are issues, with HR or anything like that, I help manage that as well. I make sure all the teams are kind of on track with their tasks, that the clients are happy, that internally there aren't any issues with anybody. Um, yeah, that's a general overview of it. I would also say a big part of my job is when we do recruitment in the fall and sometimes in the spring. I help lead that process as well.
Well, that's certainly a lot, but yeah, overall, it seems like you are handling it pretty well, though.
Thank you. Well, it's I guess it's February. We're several months in now, so if you had talked to me in let's say September, it might have been a little bit different.
That is completely understandable, and I completely get that. And so, overall, what has been, I guess, some of the most fun parts of your undergraduate experience so far?
Oh my goodness. Like the whole undergraduate experience? All of it?
Sure.
I don't know. Oh man. I guess like being super general and broad, making friends, hanging out with my friends, um, all that, cheesy stuff about college and, having a good time and yada, yada, yada. I also really enjoy being at the University of Florida in particular because we have so much school spirit. That was something I was really looking for in a college. And I'm so glad that I found it. My high school was really not like that, but I love being here and going to football games, or even like, I know everybody thinks football is the biggest thing, but we get really crazy for basketball and gymnastics and even, swimming and volleyball and all kinds of sports. And it's so fun to go to those games and cheer and, get all dressed up in the gator gear and go crazy. That's a super fun time. So I've really enjoyed that.
Well, that's cool that at least you've been able to make the most of your experience, have some fun with it, and definitely enjoy the school spirit that you weren't able to sort of get in your high school setting. And so, are you from Florida?
I am, yeah. South Florida, like Palm Beach Gardens.
That makes sense. And out of curiosity, before I move on to asking about your minor, so what made you want to go to the University of Florida?
So like I mentioned, I wanted a larger school. I wanted school spirit. I was really, really excited about that. Also, I wanted a larger school for the diversity. I wanted to meet other kinds of people, be exposed to other cultures and different ways of thinking and different perspectives. Um, and then in general, I wanted a school with a good communications program, that could really support me academically. So UF happened to be the intersection of all those things. Plus, I live in Florida, so we have a Bright Future scholarship program that pays for basically the entirety of my tuition. And if you talk to most people at the University of Florida, that's a big reason why a lot of us are here. So.
Well, that is completely understandable, and congratulations on that. I mean, that is great that you don't have to worry about that aspect.
Yeah, it's something very special, I would say, about being a Floridian and going to school in Florida, and it's a major part of, I think, the way that a lot of high schoolers make their college decisions in this state. So.
Definitely, for sure. And so, I did want to speak a little bit about your minor, though, rather ask about it. So, I know you mentioned that you have an outside minor of Spanish, and so how was that going for you?
It's going well. I'm enjoying it. So it is, to clarify, and it's a little confusing. It's not actually a minor. It is a concentration. Um, as part of the journalism school, you have to have an outside concentration in addition to your major, which is less credits than a minor. I think it's like 12, and the minor would be 18. I do actually have enough credits for a minor, but I didn't want to take the last class for it. It was a writing and composition class, and my goal with Spanish really is to be able to speak more than to be able to write. And so, as I was kind of deciding what kind of classes I wanted to take with that, I'm doing it for enjoyment more than anything else. I mean, of course there are other, professional aspects to it, but really I'm taking it because I want to. And so I wanted to take classes that I was interested in, and those were speaking classes. And so rather than finish the minor and take something with more writing, I chose to take more classes that had to do with speaking and conversation. And so that's where I'm at. So I have a concentration, and then I have a bunch of extra credits in conversation classes, basically.
But that makes perfect sense. But at least you're making the most of your education and having fun with it.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's so cool to be able to have experience in a language. I think it makes you think differently about so many different parts of life. Just I mean, from politics to like cultural differences to even like, food and music and all that stuff. It just has really like opened me up to, I don't know, to the world. That's a weird thing to say, but
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that's actually going to lead into the question I was going to ask next, which was why did you decide to do outside concentration for Spanish in particular?
yeah. So it started off with me kind of not knowing what I wanted. I was always good at Spanish in school. Like it was always something I did well in. And I was sort of tired of it and ready to quit. And my parents really encouraged me. They were like, you should really stick with it. Like it's a really great skill to have. So coming into college, I decided, all right, let me do like one semester and I'll just see how it goes. And I had probably one of the best professors I've ever had, and it was my favorite class. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm definitely not giving it up. I had like such a good time. And it really actually that class helped me so much my first semester, just like adjusting to college to have, 3 hours every week where I was really just excited and happy to be there. So I decided to kind of continue from there, and I was like, all right, let me pursue the minor because I like the professor and I like the kids who are in the class, and I like the content and all that. So it just sort of grew from there, I guess. And like I mentioned, I just kept looking for classes that would help me speak, that would be enjoyable, that covered topics I was interested in, that had good professors. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so, for you, what do you plan to do after you finish your time in undergrad, which I presume will be perhaps this May?
Yeah, I'll graduate like first week in May.
Okay,
Like
very cool.
career wise,
Yeah, like career wise, or if you plan to do something else directly after your graduation, or anything else that you may have planned to do, or even if you're just seeking out just potential experiences before going straight into a job or more school or whatever the case that you want to do.
yeah. So I would like to take a break before I start work. I really do not want to begin being burnt out, and I know that I will be. I think we all probably feel that a little bit. So, provided I have the opportunity to, I do want to take some time off and be with family and travel, be with friends, all of that. So, um, nothing is set in stone, but I guess the closest thing to being set in stone is that my brother and my sister and I are hoping to go to Spain, um, which I think would be a very cool trip. So, we're planning on that, hopefully. And then from there, I think ideally I would start work, around August, September, like sometime in the fall. Um, so to have a few months off, but we'll see what happens. Right now, I'm looking into rotational programs actually because I really want to be able to try multiple different things and see what I like and just gain a lot of experience and a lot of connections right off the bat. But I'm open to a lot at this point. I'm looking at jobs in mostly entertainment, although I am also open to consumer products and sports and technology. And then in terms of like scope of work, looking at things in social media, in analytics, product management, or sorry, project management, um, just a whole bunch of different topics.
That's actually really cool, and I'm glad that you're sort of keeping your avenues open, for all sorts of possibilities. And I know, like for me, I love like a little bit of anything and everything. So, like, you know, the whole anything that you could offer me, I would probably want even just a little peek at it, even if I'm not necessarily good at it, just to try it out because it's like I love learning, but I love having fun with it at the same time. Just new experiences all around.
Yeah. Do you feel like that applies to like industry or also to like area of work?
I think I would be open for the most part, at least to try stuff out. For me personally, I would say that I kind of like the idea of like nonprofit education and, stuff for that can help people directly. But, I feel like I would sort of, I don't know, I feel like I would help people regardless of whatever role I'm in, really. So I think it all depends, but I tend to be always up for like a good new experience and something to try out. Like I said, not everything has to be permanent. It's like if only we could have like try something for 5 weeks and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
I mean that'd be kind of cool.
exactly. That's why I'm like so excited about the rotational programs because it's like, probably 3 to 6 months in a position and then you get to try something else. So,
That's pretty cool, and definitely you'll have to keep me posted of how that goes if you're able to do that because I'd love to hear how that experience works out for you.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, even though we are, wrapping this up, I did want to ask: is there anything else that you would like to, mention or speak about, or any experiences that you have that you'd like to, discuss before we go ahead and wrap this up? But first of all, this has been great speaking with you thus far.
Yeah, you as well. Um, I don't know. I feel like we've covered quite a bit. um, I don't know. I can't think of anything in particular at the moment.
That is all good, but like I said, actually, I did figure out something I can, I guess, ask to help close this out. So I know this past November we met at the PRSSA Icon event in Texas, and so how was your experience with the event? I'd love to hear like how you sort of interpreted everything.
So actually, I will tell you, you were saying like what's been, your favorite thing about college. That did come to mind cuz I loved that trip actually. I made some great friends on that trip. I think some of the talks were not my favorite. Some of them were incredible. It was a big range in terms of what I found interesting and what I really enjoyed listening to. But what was really great was being able to be there with so many UF students. We had a very large group get to go, and I think we all really bonded being there for 5 days together. I think, particularly like the lack of food in the hotel and like, the fact that we were together at basically all times. It was just a big bonding experience. And we became really good friends, and I'm really glad to have had that experience. And then also, to be able to connect with you and so many people from other different chapters and learn about what other people's experience with PRSSA is like and gain that perspective and hear about your programs and what you're working on. It was so interesting and so cool. And like now I'm here on your podcast, which is also great. um, even to find out that you're working on that and all your other projects. It was very, very cool to experience.
I'm so glad that you were able to enjoy the experience, and it's so great meeting you as well. As long as alongside so many people there, especially like I know our table had both people from my chapter and your chapter at the University of Florida. So I mean, it was great to sort of bond and meet new people, and I mean, I just wish sort of the college experience was filled with more types of events like that because I mean, it's just so cool to like be there and I guess have a seat at that table.
It did feel very unique, right? I feel like college doesn't do field trips really, but when we do, it's something crazy like that. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. If I could go back, I would. Like, if I could go to Icon next year, I would.
Likewise, yeah. It's just such a cool experience. And I mean, I'm just so glad that we had a chance to attend and that we're having a chance to speak here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I did want to leave out by asking two things. So, first, I would say for anyone who may be interested in continuing hearing your story or following you online, where's the best places for them to find you?
Okay, I would say if you want to connect professionally, LinkedIn is your best bet. Um, LinkedIn.com/Lauren Garelick. You can also find me on Twitter at Lauren Garelick. And if you want to find me on Instagram, be a little more, casual friendly, that's at lauren.jess.01.
Well, that is great to hear. And I guess for my last question, I ask you so if anyone's listening, are you able, well, for those that are listening or watching here today, is there any piece of advice or a life lesson that you would like to share for those who are tuned in today?
Oh, wow. Let me think. I would say if you're listening to this, you are probably somebody who's high achieving. Probably, I would guess that you're invested in your career and that you're really trying to do your best. So I would say keep doing what you're doing, and keep those grades up, and keep those job and internship applications going. But at the same time, know when to breathe and know when to prioritize having fun, because you don't want to get so caught up in that you lose out on being with the people that you care about, and like enjoying your time on this planet. There is a balance between doing everything you can to be successful and enjoying your time and having a good time. So I would say strive to find that balance.
I love that. Thank you so much, Lauren, for coming out and for being here. And definitely keep me in touch with how everything goes for you, because I'd love to, definitely hear all about your journey, and definitely support you along the way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you for inviting me for this. I really appreciate it. It was great to reconnect.
Likewise, yeah, I just really enjoy being able to speak with you, and I'm glad that you were willing to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will be following your journey as well. So
Thank you so much, and you are always welcome here on the podcast.
thanks.
Of course. For those of you watching or listening, thank you all so much for tuning in as always. I always love being able to do this. But until next time, have a wonderful day, everyone, and let's make things happen. I'll see you all later. Take care. Are you interested in having your own podcast station? Well, be sure to check out our sponsor, Podpage, for all of your podcasting needs to help promote your podcasting journey.